Welcome back. You're in the studio. I'm Ann Marie Spatharakis. Coming up shortly, we'll talk to interior designer Lona Carlson about decorating for the holidays. But first, I'm back with Chris Simpson from the Contemporary Theater Company. Chris, thanks so much for being here today. Now, you've spoken about many of the cast members having been in past productions. Do you ever have them in mind when you're choosing a new play?
I have, on a couple of occasions in the company's history, picked a play with an individual or a group of individuals in mind. We picked Proof back in 2006 for Lily Matthews to play that role. I'm trying to think if there's another one or two like that. Certainly knowing that Stephen Strenio was on his last summer with us was a big factor in choosing Waiting for Godot, so he could play Vladimir back in 2010. There's a handful of other times that's happened, but usually I try to, I know that Sean is here and that Christine and that Amy and that Amelia and Terry and some of these other people are around and want to be in shows. So it's, you're not blind to it, but I try to pick the shows that make the most sense. And also, as an artistic director, it would be unfair for me to claim that I picked them all alone. Of our upcoming season, I think 3 or 4 of the shows were first brought to me by someone else. My job is to read through a lot of things, come up with some ideas, talk to the other lead artists, Ryan Hardigan, Sean Fennell, a couple of these other people, Megan Rose Donnelly, and figure out what makes sense to us artistically, then go to the staff and say, here's the season we have in mind, and have them say, well, it won't work for these reasons. Go back, do it again, bring it back to the staff, get it through them, go to the board, have the board say, won't work for these reasons, go back to the artists, come up with new plays through the staff, and finally we approve it. So to say that I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, my friends will be really good in this role and it goes through would be a little egotistical and untrue to claim. And I enjoy that process. I sort of made it sound like tedium, but it's not. It's a really satisfying process of getting lots of input from lots of excited people. It's a really good thing. Anyway, so once I had picked the show and I knew we were doing this and we were coming up on casting, then your mind starts racing. Okay, I know I have these people. I don't know who's going to come to the auditions. I don't like to precast things. I will very, very seldom say, this is definitely going to be Sean and Christine in this role. Let's not worry about who shows up to the auditions. But I am thinking about flexibility. Like, okay, Sean would be good as Mr. Bob Cratchit, or if we don't get a Scrooge, could he do that? Would he be good over here in this role? Should he not be in the show at all so he can work technical stuff? Those kinds of questions. And then when the auditions happen and you see who you get, it's like, oh, well, of course, we have this new fellow on his first show with us, Gray Johnson. Well, of course, there's no doubt in my mind which role he's going to play. He's great at these things. He's so much fun here. So that helps me resolve Sean does this or doesn't do this. And I'm just using Sean as an example because we just heard him. It's this process with all of the people. And it sort of almost always comes into resolution in a way that you're very, very happy with. I can only think of a handful of shows where I've said, we have 6 roles and 7 people, and it's a miserable week of fighting and tearing my hair out to see who's going to do what, and thinking and having a callback and a second callback and deciding on the night of the first rehearsal, okay, it's going to be you. That sort of stuff doesn't come up as often as you'd think, because I have a saying I learned from a professor in college: once you commit, the universe provides. And I think that's very true, at least in theater making, and perhaps in more than that. I'm going to do this show. I'm going to have these people audition, and this is the group we've got. Oh, look, it all worked out perfectly. It makes perfect sense. And, whether that's hindsight is 20/20 and you sort of say, oh, of course it was this way, it had to be, or something else, I don't know. But it seems like we know what the show is, and the people auditioned, it's all worked out. And you might struggle for an hour or two making decisions, but it comes together pretty quickly. And as soon as you're in rehearsal, you say, this is the way this was supposed to be. I can't imagine why I was ever thinking Amy Lee would play anything other than Mrs. Bob Cratchit. She's fantastic at it. It's perfect. Things like that.
Of all of the holiday plays to choose from, why did you choose this one?
There's a lot of reasons for that kind of thing. First of all, the last 2 years we have commissioned original versions of Gift of the Magi that were written for us. We did one in 2009 by Andy Hoover, using 4 actors at the what was then the Midtown Cafe, where Fat Bellies is now on Main Street in Wakefield, as a dinner theater. And then last year we had one by Brandon Michael Loudon and Dave Holtz. They wrote a 6-person version of Gift of the Magi, the first one being set in the modern day and the other one being set back in the 50s. And that was at the Towers. And I was very excited. I still am very excited about the idea of doing a Gift of the Magi every year. It's a beautiful story. There's so much versatility that can be shown and that can be enjoyed by doing versions of the same thing completely differently. I mean, you see Trinity Rep does that with their Christmas Carol. It's different every year. And so that was where I thought we were going, and I was very excited about that. And I think, don't be surprised if Gift of the Magi starts showing up again in holidays to come. But having done it twice and still trying to make sure that we are exploring all of our options and not becoming too set in our ways yet at this relatively early stage of our company, having been around only since 2005. When I found this script, I forget who it was who brought it to my attention, it just seemed, this has been a tough few years for everybody economically, and I get that. Our first Gift of the Magi was just after, in the year after the first real big downturn happened, and it was sort of themed about like Jim Mandela, who had he had been an investment banker, like a low level, not a terrible criminal investment banker, but like a working in an investment bank kind of guy, lost his job and was trying to find his identity. And the story was beautiful and it came out great. And at the time, I think everyone was really appreciative. It was a really nice way of dealing with that. Now people are tired of some of those things, and things are coming around. We see people spending more money in the stores and enjoying and moving about life again. But things are different than they were, and it's been a tough year. And this show has so many laughs in it. It is so funny. It is so enjoyable. It's so lighthearted. It pokes fun. It's irreverent in a playful way. It pokes fun at society, certainly, and at rich people and at poor people and at TV and at movies and at some of our beloved classics like Christmas Carol, obviously, and several others. It asks those big questions of what if the ghosts of Christmas past don't know what they're doing, and what if things are difficult and we can still enjoy them and still make the most of them. And it's really, I'm making it sound as I talk about this angle of it like a really sort of touching, deep, inquisitive piece. It's a lighthearted farce, which is why it's right for this time. And I think when I read it and I was feeling those things and seeing that everyone else was too, it seemed like the right place to go. And I am so glad we did this. And also, it was a challenge to say, we're going to bring in children to work with. We've never had children on our stage before. This is our first time with children in one of our plays. We had some middle school actors and things before, like our Alice's Adventures in Wonderland had some middle schoolers in it. But this is, we have children. We have young children, 7, 8, 9 years old. And so when I saw that in the script, it also seemed like the right time to take that step and really enjoy that. So it just felt, for all of these reasons, like the right step at this time, and I am so glad we did it. And I am looking forward, like nobody's job, to doing Gift of the Magi again in a few years, whether it's next year or beyond, because it's a wonderful story. But taking this little break for this reason is, I think, the kind of flexibility that a small company can have. I think there'd be outcry if Trinity switched up their Christmas Carol and did, It's a Wonderful Life or something like that. We're nimble, we're small, we can adapt and try things and play along, and we are, and that's what this show is, and I think it's paid off in spades.
Want to hear from another one of your cast members?
Oh, who else did you introduce? I would love to hear whoever comes next. Here we are, opening night, and I'm hearing what the actors have to say about the show before we even go up. This is really a unique and terrifying opportunity.
Here's Rebecca.
I'm Rebecca Magnotta. I've been with the CTC for over a year and a half now. I'm playing the characters of one of the Fezziwig daughters and the lovely Irish voice, which is really interesting because every time I've auditioned, they've always made me do my monologue in an Irish accent, and I've never known why, but I've finally gotten the chance to use it in a show, which is very exciting if you're me. It's been a great experience working with a bunch of talented actors and staff, and the show is going to be absolutely great and a lot of fun, and I'm so excited to be a part of it.
That's Rebecca. That Irish accent is actually true. She's auditioned on a number of occasions, and a number of different directors, myself included, but not only. I think 4 now have asked her to do that for different reasons, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but it seems right. So I was glad that we had a chance to do this one. Anyway, the thing that's exciting for me about Rebecca being in this show, she is, first of all, she's in the roles she mentioned, and she is also the props manager. She's designed a lot of the props and is keeping track of them backstage in between her roles and things like that. She is one of this group We have a program. Education is a really big part of what we do, and we have this program called Wednesday Workshop. It's Wednesdays from 5 to 7. Anyone who wants to. It tends to be college kids and high school kids mostly, but not exclusively. They come in. The first time is free for the 2 hours. From then on, it's $10 for the 2 hours, and we just slowly rotate through a ton of different theater topics, all with an eye towards whether you have done a lot of shows and you're sort of, this is only a short time thing for you, or you've never done any theater and you're looking to get involved for the first time. We rotate through things that make you a more complete theater maker, whether that's an actor, a director, a writer, an audience member, a tech person, whatever it is. So it's an emphasis on making little scenes. What makes a story good? What makes, how do you introduce, conduct the middle of, and then conclude a story in a variety of different ways. And then most importantly, how do you talk about it? So we do all these things. I explain a little bit. We do some warm-ups. We try some stuff. Everyone works in groups to make scenes or to try exercises or whatever it is, come back, show each other what we've done, and then we'll sit and review them together and talk about, discuss what worked, what didn't, why, what did it feel like as an audience member, what did it feel like as a performer, and it's really results oriented in terms of what worked and what didn't, and why do we think that is. In 2009, when we initiated this in the fall of 2009, includes Christine Koshan, who I mentioned, Rebecca Magnotta, who you mentioned, Ashley Mackamo, who's in the show, Chris Gilmette and Casey Wright, who are assistant stage manager and stage manager, respectively. Megan Phelps, who's assistant stage managing as well, or co-stage managing, really. All of these people who came up through this program when they were in high school or in college and really just got involved that way, have learned so much from it and from the other things they've done with us and independently. I mean, it would be unfair to take all the credit, but because they're great young people. They're playing really valuable roles for us now on stage and behind the scenes. They're not just, someone who was in high school, liked theater, got up on the stage, has 10 lines, goes home, that's it. They are making this show come together along with everybody else, but they really all got involved with what we're doing via this program that we have, and they're now playing not just medium-sized roles, medium capacities. They're doing a lot to make it happen, and it's really exciting to see our educational program paying dividends in that way. Also, a number of graduates of the program or people who've completed have gone on and are now in college when they were in high school before, and they're doing a great job at Ithaca or at Emerson or some of these other schools they've gone to. But to see them really coming back and doing this show with us and using those skills is fantastic.
What's next for the CTC?
After this show, we have our signature event, which is probably our biggest event of the year, although it's the shortest one too, the 24-hour Play Festival, which we do every January. This year it's the 7th. It's always the first or second Saturday in January. It's right at the beginning of the year on a Saturday. We have about 50 artists total who get involved. 6 writers get together at midnight on Friday night, right at the very end of the day, Friday, the beginning of the day, Saturday. And they get a bunch of prompts, and each of the 6 writes an original 10 to 15-minute play. And then around 7 a.m., they're done, and directors get the script. They start reading them, making some ideas, decisions. Actors get an original monologue that was written overnight, and at 8 o'clock, they audition for the directors. And so we have with 6 directors and 24 actors, and the actors start, they all do the same brand new monologue that was fresh off the presses 15 minutes before, and they all do it. The directors all watch. They sort of put them through their paces doing things with the monologue. They cast the plays, and all day they rehearse in teams of 6. The writers sometimes help. There are 6 directors, 24 actors, a bunch of extras, and at 8 o'clock, the whole thing goes up in front of an audience. Last year, we had about 225 people there in the middle of a snowstorm, so I can only imagine what the attendance will be this year if the weather's good. It's at the South Kingstown High School every year because it's the only auditorium, the only space in town big enough to fit the audience and the show, and it is just a blast. I mean, sometimes it's sloppy. I'm not going to lie to you. If the 6 piece is one of them, you're going to be sitting there saying, what the heck is this thing? I don't get it. It's weird. I like this moment, but I don't know what it has to do with the moment before, because you have to remember it was written overnight and rehearsed all day. And then there are the rest are usually, the way it usually works out, there's sort of one like, what was that? That's okay, but what was it? And the rest are usually brilliant. And it's that sort of like caffeine, adrenaline, sort of rush. The enthusiasm for performing gets the whole thing going. This really exciting festival feel, and the show is always a favorite. I mean, we have people who come up and they say, I am coming. I can't wait. I've been to all 6 of the ones before. I can't wait for the 7th. This is our 7th annual, if you can believe it. And that's an event you don't want to miss. 8 o'clock on January 7th at the South Kingstown High School Auditorium. You can get tickets to that on our website already, I'm sure. And then after that, we have an original piece that we are producing as a dinner theater show at the Towers again in February and March called Your Friends and Neighbors Present the Last Happy Night of Your Life. And it's on the theme of local food, local art, local entertainment, local living, community. What does that mean to us and how do we enjoy it? And it's a really fun thing. It's just coming together. Of course, they've been writing since September, but it's going to be a wonderful show as well. So I'm excited for that. We'll talk more about that later. And then beyond that, lots of great things in the works. I'm not going to spill the beans just yet, but our 2012 season is going to be really spectacular. Some great things coming down the line.
Wonderful things to look forward to. But tonight's opening night for Mr. and Mrs. Bob Cratchit's Wild Christmas Binge. Tell everyone how they can get tickets.
Yes. Tonight we open, although tonight is sold out already. It has been actually for weeks. I haven't checked the latest numbers. I wouldn't be surprised if we were right at sellout for tomorrow night and for Saturday and Sunday afternoon too. They're all, as of yesterday morning, as of Wednesday morning, they're all at least 75% sold out. So I'm sure we're getting very close now. But you can call the box office, which is 401-218-0282. Again, 401-218-0282. And get all the latest information on that. And then our website, thecontemporarytheater.com, has a box office there. You can get your tickets, and that's live up to the minute also. So if we're sold out, they won't be there. And you can get them in person at the Chambers of Commerce in Narragansett and in South Kingstown and at the Alternative Food Co-op on Main Street in Wakefield. Those are all the ways to get tickets, and you're going to want to do that because it's a great show. Our Friday and Saturday nights, the shows are $22. The Wednesday night and the Sunday afternoon for this one are $15. Thursdays are always pay what you can at the CTC, so whatever you can spare, whether it's more or less than the average ticket price, is up to you. It's whatever seems right and whatever you're able to do. However, just so everyone is clear, Thursdays, if people reserve in advance, are $15, just the same as a Wednesday or a Sunday. Just for accounting purposes, it's the only way to really do that. But at the door, it is pay what you can. So that's how Thursday works. Anyway, that's the information on the show, and I hope you'll all get to be there. It is tonight, tomorrow, it's the 15th, the 16th, the 17th, and the 18th, and then again next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of December, all at the Towers in Narragansett.
Christopher Simpson from the Contemporary Theater Company, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
I enjoy being here. Thank you very much. It's always fun to be here, and thank you for all your help. We look forward to seeing you at the show.
We'll be right back with Lona Carlson to tell us how we can bring a little holiday sparkle into our homes in just a moment. Lona Carlson is my next guest. She is a Danish-born interior designer who's been living and working in the United States for over 30 years. Lona started out in the fashion industry as a runway model, but after raising her 2 children, was drawn into the interior design field. I'm thrilled to welcome her to the program now. Welcome, Lona. How can we make our worlds more festive and inviting this holiday season?
Well, Anne, it's a great question. For years, my husband Cliff and I have made a tradition. Shortly after Thanksgiving, before it gets really cold, we take a trip into the woods. And we pick different woods, different forests, wherever the day takes us. We bring a thermos of hot chocolate, and we start clipping branches. I love to mix different types of foliage. I like the white pines, all the different types of pines that are out there, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. You just have to be very careful how you cut, and you want to be conscious of the trees and not ruin them. I'm particularly fond of junipers, and They give a great fragrance, and it's just pretty. They're easy to work with. So that's where I begin.
What tools do you bring with you when you go out?
Just an average garden clipper. Most of us have that if we have our own yard, or if you are an apartment dweller. You don't need a lot of green, so you can either go to the local tree stores where they sell the Christmas trees and ask them for cuttings if you're not one to venture out to the woods. And they'll either give it to you because they're scraps, or for a small fee you can get a nice bundle of various cuttings. So you don't need a lot of things. You really don't.
So once you've gathered up all of these greens, how do you arrange them and put them together?
It all depends on how I want to use it. For example, if I'm decorating a mantle, I like to start it off with artificial greens. You buy the garlands or just the little short branches, and then I use some of the fresh in between to make it nice and full, or I just place them in a vase with a little water, and then you can decorate them with some of the fake berries, a little ribbon, or whatever you have lying around, or anything with the greens. The greens are just a nice Christmas fragrance. When you walk into your home, you smell the pine, and you don't have to go spend $15 on a candle to get that nice fresh smell. It works. It really works. And you can tip it with a little white frost snow spray if you like. All kinds of different ideas to use your greens. Another thought that helps is when you are decorating more than one room, you want to carry it through from your living room, your dining room, and of course you always want to set the tone at the front door. You choose your color scheme and you just carry it throughout. That doesn't mean you have to have an all gold home or an all silver or blue and white, but just a little splash of that throughout just makes it cohesive, and it makes it a lot easier. And you can use it year after year. You just add a little here and a little there. Or if you have childhood treasures or treasures from your children's childhood, or anything that's precious to you, you use that as your beginning and you build around that. It's always nice to have things that have been in your family, in your husband's family, in your growing extended family. I also will use photos. I take any kind of photos of the kids, the animals, the grandparents, and I get nice little frames, and you can either spray them gold or silver if they don't all match. It's quick, it's easy, and you place those all through your house with a little sprig of green, and you're decked out for the holidays. Those are some of the basic tips that really, really work.
Lona, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Oh, it was absolutely my pleasure, and I'm just going to say Glædelig Jul, which means Merry Christmas in Danish.
I want to thank both my guests, Chris Simpson from the Contemporary Theater Company and Lona Carlson, as well as the cast and crew of the Contemporary Theater Company for letting us sneak into their rehearsals. Our board operator today is Lauren Kleinkopf. And a big thanks also to Chris DiPaolo and WBLQ Radio, streaming live worldwide at WBLQ.net. I'm Ann Marie Spatharakis. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you next week in the studio.